Hello and welcome to a dramatic reading of this horrible story I wrote. This is recorded the day after. There's plot holes. There's a lot of error. Trust me. I know. It's intentional. It's bad. And if you want to read it for yourself, I have it in the description. I'm going to mess up a few times. It's just human nature. All right. Also, I'm probably going to laugh while reading this. I'm going to try to do this in one take. Item number SCP 6200. Object class Euclid. Special containment procedures. Due to the rarity of this anomaly, the only known procedures are a mandatory quarantine followed by an intensive carpet bombing. Description: SCP-6200 is a Euclid-class biohazard. Located within a small village in Serbia, a haze was spread across the boundaries of the town, though it seemed to only stay within the county lines, however, and did not spread into other areas. Witnesses describe it as being a variety of colors. No single color was ever pinned down because of this. The effects of the haze are also different for most people, and only a few have shared a similar story. The anomalous haze is seemingly caused by a dimensional shift, allowing creatures populating a desolate version of Earth to flee to ours. This dimension, from what the Foundation has recovered so far, has been completely dried of all natural resources. Most life is now extinct, most notably the human race. A species is known to have landed here on a comet and attempted to simulate humans, though those who have watched the drone footage claim it to be a variety of people they impersonate. The first to watch the tapes said it was Nick Cage, and thus it has been dubbed as the Nick Dimension. From this split, a host of these hostile entities have poured through. These are dubbed 6200B. These entities have come through slits in walls, ceilings, and streets, crawling out. They take all manner of shapes and have many different ways of dispatching targets. The most effective tool they have, however, is their face, in quotes, face. This face assumes a different appearance based on who looks at it, most claiming to see a famous actor, similar to how they appear in the Nick dimension. It is unknown what their primary purpose is for killing us, but some do assume it is to study us. It has been noted that with each subsequent killing, they appear less and less alien, but this is yet to be confirmed, as there are no photographs of this anomaly. After a successful carpet bombing raid, only 3 pieces of evidence are left, all of which could have been fabricated by the SCP itself. All these pieces have inconsistencies, and none of which seem to make much sense. SCP-6200-C A, the first piece of evidence. The dimension in which we reside is one of the few things we take for granted. We expect things to be the same way they were before, day after day, night after night, sunrise and sunset. It's when this dimension becomes distorted, we find true horror seep through, horror which, beyond any shadow of a doubt, can warp a man's mind into a puddle of mucolingus slime. It was a cool autumn day when such an abomination made its way into our narrow scope of reality, distorting it until it came to a breaking point. Upon a collide of 2 dimensions caused by a rift in another, possibly that thing they kept chained up in the recesses of sight. Redacted. God knows what that thing truly was. Its ever-expansive being, the way it warped a person's mind when they looked at it. If it wasn't for those beings from the Kokomold dimension, I don't think they would have lasted long, judging by the tapes we recovered. On that autumn day, the sky turned sickly green over Redacted, a village in Serbia. Immediately, a task force was mobilized. I, unfortunately, was one of them. We were shuttled inwards from the Ukraine border. Unfortunately, I didn't get the first-class plane tickets like my superiors did. Being a subordinate, I didn't expect so. Crawling along the half-track, it took almost a day before we arrived. By then, the situation had turned much worse. A quarantine zone was established around the village, erected entirely out of rebar and plexiglass. This had been used once before to maintain a sudden outbreak of redacted. You could almost taste the smell of the bile on it from its previous use, but hey, it was impossible to compromise. My group was stationed on sweeping lower-level housing, specifically in the B block of the village. They divided it into 4 sectors due to their completely different housing specifications. In A, you had mostly farmland and old barns people had been living in for decades. In B, you had a lot of tight-knit urban areas, lots of housing to cover. C lay west of the coal plant they had. The housing there was akin to a slum. It was probably easiest to scan, though, at least from what I heard. D was just a brick house sitting atop Crest Hill. Big Brother used it as a base of operations. I believe they had a tent set up to analyze anomalous material, if any surfaced, of course. My group spent the latter half of the day kicking doors in, frightening locals, and getting dangerously close to squeezing our index not fingers, sorry, past the point of no return. Locals, the first ones at the scene and usually the last. It wasn't until 2100 when we encountered the first anomaly. It came through a crack in an old woman's wall. At least that was what we surmised when we entered her room. The entry had trails of viscous flesh-colored slime spread across her carpet, seeping into the hardwood floor and adorned with rose petals of blood. We had guessed it was a woman. She was gone from the waist up, dissolved, and spread across the room in a spider web-like formation. We took point and swept the living room, where Davy took a sample of part of it in one of the quartz vials they gave to us. I assume this must have been all, but assumptions have a way of rearing up and biting you in the butt when you make them. I heard the screaming first. It was from one of my men. I had whipped around, and the barrel of my MP5 pointed straight towards his horrified maw. Something was on him like a fly in a trap. Its face, God, its face still haunts my dreams. Its tendrils wrapped around his fatigues, burning past the layers of Kevlar and Velcro as it coiled around him. Its mouth was aimed straight towards him, making some god-forsaken face. The face, it was a familiar face, but it wasn't until after everyone began to light up the beast that it dawned on me. The face was Nick Cage's. Somehow Nick Cage's face had been imprinted onto this thing. The fight wasn't over, as it was caught in a hailstorm of hollow points. Its blood sent spurts of flesh-colored slime at another man, Charlie. It melted through his mask, melted through the flesh and bone that held his brain inside. After okay, normally if I'm writing, I'm gonna put some actual like anatomically correct things. Listen to this, right? This is not written down. I'm just saying. His brain slid out from the slit in his face, stem dangling behind his entire body sagged. Don't worry, it's not. I know it's bad. It's supposed to be bad. It must have been a second to me, but it felt like years. Screaming, we continued to fire as I retreated. The others weren't so lucky. It didn't stop. It left from person to person. As it did, not only did the creature catch fire, but so did my men. Each one was riddled with bullets by their comrades as they attempted to crush God's abomination. I didn't stay to watch any longer. I nearly slid as I scrambled for the door and it slammed behind me. All caution flew to the wind as I tumbled down the concrete stairs, catching myself on the handrail and continuing to run. Bile gnawed at the back of my throat, releasing itself as I pushed my way outside on the ground. I'd never thrown up. In all my years with the Force, I had never once thrown up at seeing my fellow men die. This was different. It was too visceral. 40 minutes of running, catching stitches in my side as I ran for D sector, skidding inside and knocking over a coffee table. My commanding officer, Brandy, eyed me with a cockeyed suspicion. Uh, Petty Officer Petro, may I ask what the hell you're doing? I couldn't speak. I just grabbed at him with vomit-splattered hands and eyes wide. Speak you, junkie bastard! An insult. Now that brought me closer to clarity. I cleared my throat and grasped at threads of conversation. Sir, something I... Oh, why am I reading his voice like that? Sir, something, I don't know, what the hell? It killed them. It killed them all. Do you have any samples? No? Why not? What exactly did I tell you to do? You, you don't understand. I understand what? Your sorry ass runs in here, covered with vomit, demanding I listen to you. Well, what? Listen, just tell me where the hell I need to mobilize another team and I'll get it sorted. B section, Vector 4. This letter was found on Petty Officer Petro's corpse, scribbled with a ballpoint pen onto the backs of playing cards. May not reflect reality. The presence of opioids was found in the autopsy done to the charred remains of the petty officer. SCP 6200CB. 2 days. I've been in this shit pit, Lindy. 2 days. I've seen 40 men get fucking melted into a pile of their own blood and shit. I've seen a goddamn beast with George Clooney fucking kill my friends, kill my family. I'm done with this shit. He turned himself into a pickle. Scariest shit I've ever seen. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna send this to you, Lindy. I'm gonna send this letter to you, and you're gonna meet me in Janja. if you if you get this letter, I love you. Letter A2 recovered in the decontamination precedent. SCP 6200 CD. This is the funniest. I I thought this sounds like you'd see this like on a 14-year-old's like page. So I've seen this sorry. I've seen this town built brick by brick. I've seen my children grow up here. I've seen my children die here. This is your fault. A local sign of graffiti written on several boxes, notepads, walls, trucks, propane tanks, and other site property. As of now, this is all that is known of the incident. As such, containment procedures are to eliminate an area after a successful quarantine effort. It is doubtful it could ever become a Keter class SCP due to its erratic nature. Now you're probably wondering, why'd you write that? That's horrible. Why'd you write that? Let me tell you. I wrote that because I wanted somebody to try to publish that. I'm not going to try to publish it. It's a lot of work. I just want these people who are not in on the dark. I want them to read this, and I want them to believe it's real. Because it's funny when you think it's real. When you think of somebody writing this and not purposefully like making it horrible. And I tried to at least fit it in the format. I tried to put it in the actual format. So its content is what's bad. And there's some writing inconsistencies. It's horrible, but I hope you enjoyed that. If you want it, it's public use. Just credit me or don't. Depends on what you do with it. If you're making money off of it, yeah, please credit me. If you're not, man, I ain't gonna get credited anyway. I got it right now in the description on a Google Doc. You can have download it as a PDF, print it, hang it on your wall. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sorry it's so long-winded. I just wanted it to be, fun. Anyway, thank you. Goodbye.